Hi all. So today we are going to start with last year YTD. So yeah, let me start with this last year YTD. So we are discussing this separately, specifically because there is a function which is going to help us in achieving this output. So previously for the current year, our output should be for current year YTD. It should start from the first date of this year to the current date. So last year YTD will be first date of the last year 0101 2022 to today's date in the last year. That will be 27/10/2022. So this is the output which is expected in last year YTD. So to achieve this output, we need to know one more Tableau function or date function in Tableau, which will be Dateadd function. So we can also say that Dateadd function is a time machine function because it is only one function, date function in Tableau, which can move from current date to previous date or to future dates. So Dateadd is only function which we can call as a time machine function also, because it can move in the current, present, and future also. So let's see an example how it behaves. So the syntax of Dateadd will be, let me maximize this. So we will have date parts here. So generally we need to have date parts inside single quotes. So currently I'm taking month here just to show the example. Month comma 1 comma, on which field we want to apply this. So our date field is order date. So what this Dateadd function will do is it will add 1 month to every date field in the order date. So this calculation will do that. So let's take an example and let me bring order date into the view and convert this into month per year. Now if I'm applying this Dateadd and bringing this into the view, making this exact date, or we'll also take month per year and display it. So for every order date where it was January, our date field got shifted to 1 month ahead. Likewise, if we want to go to the previous month, or if we want to move all the date fields to 1 month before, I can simply use -1 and click on apply. So if I'm clicking on -1, automatically my month of the actual date fields have been shifted to 1 month ahead. So likewise, we can also use, instead of month, if I am using year and clicking on apply, I will be going to the same date last year. So this is the Dateadd function where we will be using this. But while using Dateadd function, we have to remember one thing. Whenever we are using this Dateadd function straight away, the whole data is either shifted forward or backward, or it can retain the same way. By that I mean to say, this whole data which was actually there, order date, was in the previous example, it has shifted 1 month ahead, and now it has shifted 1 year ahead of the same date. So let's check that also. Let me make this exact date, and this also exact date. So here, if you look at the example, For 3/1/2020, we got 3/1/2019. So we got exactly the same date in the previous year. So this is where the Dateadd function plays a crucial role. So if you are applying straight away like this, let's say here in some of you where you are working, if you have only the date field until 2021 or 2022, then we can update the date as well and perform the operations. So this type of option will be better whenever we are using forecasting and we want the date field which is to be in future dates, but in actual data we don't have that date. If I am taking order date, I have 20 to 23 years. So if I want future dates which is starting from 24 to 27, I have to just use a calculated field and name them as future dates and simply add Dateadd of year part of. So here for the positive, we need not write the positive sign. We can straight away give the interval and the date field. So whenever I want to use the future dates, I can use the newly created date field, which has started from 2024 and running up to 2027. So like this, we can modify our dates on the existing value and still generate insightful data. So there is one more functionality or the way of usage, how we will use Dateadd function. This is one application. The second application is, so I don't want to move my entire data, but I want to move within my data. So then what we are going to do is, for that only we will be using Dateadd to go to the previous date. So let's take example. Okay, let's leave this and create a new calculation. So here I am saying last year YTD. So generally in the previous day, as we learned, we will be using on the year function. So here also I am taking year of order date is equal to year of today. So here I am going to write -1 because I want the previous year, right? So let me bring this output. What is this getting true for? So for the entire current year, I got false, and for entire previous year, I got true. But I don't want true for all the entire year. So that's why, so here what we are going to do is we are going to restrict to the current date. So the only function which is going to do that is using data order date less than or equal to less than or equal to current day in the last year. So this is the Boolean calculation of last year YTD. So clicking on apply and removing the rest of the date fields which are in the view. We are using this in filters. So we are going to get the date fields which are only existing in the last year YTD. So let's take sales years. So this is how we'll be able to display the sales value. And even though if we don't want order date and we want only total sum also, so like this also we can straight away use in the KPIs also. The same calculation we can use in KPIs also and still get last year YTD. So generally in real-time cases, we will be constructing current year YTD versus last year YTD and we will be calculating growth percentage. So for that purpose, if we want to build or get the output of growth percentage, then we have to definitely use a condition which will extract last year YTD sales. So for that purpose, let me edit this and copy this, and then we'll write a condition which will give last year's YTD sales. Now last YTD sales. So as we already have Boolean function, we are going to take condition here which will validate the data. And after that, so if everything is true, if my current year -1, if this year of date is equal to 2, I am going to get the entire data of last year. And this is going to restrict my data until today's date in the last year. So then I am going to get the sales value out of it and end. So this is last year YTD sale. So let's write current year YTD sales also. So instead of -1, we are going to use as same year. And instead of this entire calculation, we are going to use today. This is current year YTD. So then I'm going to get some sales value. So end and apply on this. So to create a growth percentage calculation, the calculation will be, or we can name as YOY growth or YTD growth. So here we can take sum of current year sales. Here we have to show you one more error, which is very common in whenever you are working on dates for the first time. So here in the YTD sales, we have, let me apply this. So in the YTD sales, this calculation is going to be executed for each row. By that I mean to say, let me take a new sheet. And you are going to get this in text. So whenever I am bringing this, the value is getting aggregated, right? So then only we'll be able to get the output. So whenever we are doing growth percentage calculation, there is one problem which is needed to be addressed. So if I am doing current YTD sales or YTD sales, which is with current YTD minus last YTD sales. So numerator, we should always keep this in braces divided by last YTD sales. So because we are comparing with respect to last YTD. So even though this calculation is valid, we are not going to get the output because we need to understand something whenever we are doing with dates. This is the clear example of that. Because yeah, let me bring this into the view. YTD sales. And YTD growth percentage. So we did not get any output. The reason behind this is, let me show you with this one and last YTD sales. So this is the reason we did not get the output. Reason is last YTD sales is currently in the year 2022 and current YTD sales in the year 2023, which means both are in a separate row. As we did not aggregate them inside the calculation, they are appearing in different rows. So whenever I am doing current year minus previous year, in 2023 there is null, so anything plus minus or addition or subtraction with null is also a null. So I got a null here, and again whenever this is getting executed, there is nothing in this current row. That's why I'm not getting the output. So for that purpose, whenever we are going with aggregations or at the level of each row, we always need to perform aggregation, that is sum of YTD sales. And here also we need to do sum. Otherwise, we won't get data, because after performing sum, both will be at the same level of row level. If I am clicking apply now, we won't get this everything in measure names and all. But let us go to the new sheet. And if I am bringing the growth percentage, okay, YTD growth straight away. So we are going to get the output because we had in a single row. Let me bring these two also. Sum of YTD sales and last year YTD sales. So whenever we are performing sum, we are going to aggregate at the level for the entire YTD sales, and we are going to bring into one single output. So that's why we won't get this level of row level issues whenever we are aggregating the data. If we are not aggregating the data, so the data is at the individual level, which is at the date level. So this is the most important thing you need to know whenever we are doing date calculations, especially with growth percentages. We always need to aggregate the value whenever we are going with the addition or subtraction of the previous or current years. So this is the most important thing. So these are the date parts which I was mentioning. So these we are going to use in date trunk. We are going to use in date part. So rest of the functions which are not straight away direct functions of the dates, on every one we will be using the date parts in Tableau. So let me share the entire screen. So whenever we are dealing with this date parts, so we can use year or week of the year. So these are the actually the example wherein we'll be the output is mentioned on the left side. So for each date part, we have all these different types. But in the direct functions, we only have year, quarter, month, week, only until this part only we have that. So in date parts, we have extra day, and we also have weekday. So we also have direct function as day also. We don't have weekday, but we have week, which will be going from first week to 52 or 53. But we don't have hour, minute, second. And these are the ISO standard year, quarter, week, and weekday. So in date part, we have extra part as weekday, which is going to give us 1 to 7 or Sunday to Monday based on the date part used or the function used. and we have extra hour, minute, and seconds, because these are very much important whenever we want to go at the more granular level. So let's take example of that scenario, wherein we'll be having date part functions, and we'll again come back to this date part symbols and their respective format, because we'll be dealing with them in many applications in formatting the creating the custom formatting dates. Instead of creating calculated fields, we can use the format option and get the required output using these example formats. So before that, let's go to the date part function, which we are going to discuss in our next topic. So let's me create another new sheet, and let me bring order date into the rows. So yeah, creating a new date, and here we are going to use date part function. So from here, understanding of the date fields gets a bit complicated, because until now our input of the date field was straight away date field, and our output was sometimes integer and sometimes date field. So that's why whenever we are dealing with any function, we need to perfectly remember what is the input this function is accepting and what is the output it will be delivering. So that is the most important thing. If we are able to understand and remember which function is going to take which data type as an input and which data type as an output, then you are very good with date calculations. So for that purpose, this date part calculation is currently taking straight away direct date as input, and say let's take a month here, month comma. So we are going to take order date. So I'm going to apply this. So when I've applied this, I got it shifted into the measures. So that's why I'm making into the dimension, and we are going to bring this here. So if you look at the output, I got the integer output, which is same as this output, month of order date. So let me bring this also into the view. Okay, so as it has been converted into this one, we got date of the name of the output, but we generally, if I'm doing like this, month directly, month of order date. Okay, generally we get direct date field the same way how we are able to get here, but as it is in the dimension, it's not taking that part. So this is how we will be using date part here. Let's take a new sheet and show the same example how this is behaving. And if I'm taking this month of order date is equal to month of today, or let's take only month of today. So now I got my integer value. So yeah, I got straight away 10. But whenever I am using the same function here, I'm getting names of the months here. So sometimes it happens. So that's why we need straight away, if we want the exact output, we need to use these type of functions to exactly get the integer output. So that's why here we can change month, year, weekday, hour, second, and minutes. So we have extra 3 or 4 more date parts which are not available in the direct functions, and we are going to get this outputs. So let me calculate this and click on apply. So like this, instead of month of order date, we can use date part of the order date. So let's move on to the next function, which is going to get the same output in the string value. So let's take that example. That is date name function. So date name function has also the same syntax of date part, which is going to take initially the date part. So whenever we are dealing with date parts, all the date parts should be enclosed within single quotes, and the date part should always be in lowercase. Otherwise, we won't be able to execute the data. So that's why here I have taken date name of order date at the level of month. Our date part is month, right? So now if I am doing date name, previously I got integer output, and now I am going to get the string output, because date name is going to fetch the names of the data type in the date field. So let's say if I have taken a date name of year of order date. So my date part here became year. And if I'm applying on this, even though I'm getting integer output, if I'm looking at my date name here, it is still in the string value only. So by this, you need to understand, whenever we are using date name function, even though the output looks as if it is an integer, the data type will still remain as a string data type only. So whenever we are writing YTD calculation, if you are writing like this, if date name of year of order date is equal to year of today, so left side I have another data type, and right side I have another data type. That's why I'm getting this error. It's saying that it cannot compare string and integer values. So this is very common error which you are going to get in the coming days, or whenever you are practicing with date calculations. If your data output data type is not matching with the equating value. So this is the most important thing whenever we are dealing with dates calculations. So for this purpose, if I want to use again, if I want to get the output, I need to again use the date name only here. Date name of year of today. So this is how we need to write the calculations whenever we are using date part and date name. So let's look at the calculation for creating same YTD calculation using date part function first. So we are going to get date part YTD. First, we are going to straight away write date part sales only. So I am taking if condition here. So if date part of year, comma, order date is equal to date part of year, comma, today. So whenever I am writing this, we are going to bring the month bar here so that we'll be able to understand clearly, or else we can take straight away the exact date and discrete it. So yeah. let me add this if last, so that, yeah. So if I'm bringing this first line is same as if I'm writing if year of order date is equal to year of today, this argument is also same as that. So, and if I'm bringing this, now I got true for the entire year. So now I want to restrict my data until today. So what I'm going to do, I am going to simply put order date less than or equal to today. So as my requirement is to get date part YTD sales, so I'm going to use if condition, which is going to check the dates and give me the sales value only for that particular dates. Same example for the last year, current month or previous month YTD. So last year, MTD. So for that, let me bring the same calculations into the view. So I'm going to calculate at the level of year first. So phi requirement is to get to the previous year. So I'm doing -1. So I'm going to use conjunction, and here I need not change because I want same month in the previous year. As I have already went to the previous year in the first line, I need not change this because my month remains same, and I want generally what we'll be writing order date less than or equal to today, but in the last year we need to get into the current day which is present in the last year. So for that we only have one function which is going to do that, which is a Dateadd function. And as I'm going at the level of year to the same date, I'm going to use date part as year -1 of today. So which is going to exactly get what is the requirement. So let me bring this into the view. So now it's getting true for the last year until 27th. So this is how we'll be leveraging all the calculations and we'll getting the output. So let me do this for the sales. So if this condition satisfies, then I am going to get the sales value. So like this, we can generate current MTD sales and last year MTD sales, and we can calculate the MOM a percentage over year. So you may ask one more doubt here, or anyone can ask one more doubt, because we already calculated YTD or MTD or QTD using direct functions in Tableau. Already we have done that. But why are we using this? The same date part, and again why we are using the same MTD sales with the date part? Why not we just go with the direct functions? This we are doing, or this I'm explaining only to make you understand the usage of these date part function. But whenever you are comfortable with using each function to get the same output, you will be easily able to understand the difference between each function in date calculations. And as well, every date function has some specific usage, like it should be used in only that particular scenarios, which is going to give the most easy output, like Dateadd function. So for date parts, instead of direct function, whenever there is a requirement where we need to get the date parts which are not available in the direct function, like hour, minute, and second or week of the day. So for that, we'll be using the date parts or date name. So that's how we'll be using these functions. And so today's work will be, you need to practice all MTD, YTD, QTD, and WTD using date part and as well as date name. So those gets 4 calculations, 4 plus 4 for date part 4 and 4 for date name, which is going to get 8 calculations only on the current year and plus 8 calculations on the previous year, same YTD, QTD, MTD, and WTD. So this is the practice which you are going to do after going through this session. And let me know if you have any doubts on Tableau in the comment section below. Until next video, happy visualizing.